All right. Welcome to my test match of the Vintage Historical Gauntlet that I'd like to start doing.
Okay. No idea what you actually want to do, but hearing that, yeah, good.
Right. For the people at home, I'm Miryafa, and with me is...
Well, Leo, but I go by Nuvich sometimes. So.
Yes. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. I barely know enough about Vintage. I don't know what you mean by historical, like, Vintage. Like, are you playing this deck against modern-day Vintage decks, or are we just talking about it, or do you have matches selected?
Well, so check this out. I've got Flash Hulk here, and I don't have all the cards, but if I did, these are the cards that would go in at least one variation of the deck. And then over here, I've got a similar example of a Burning Long deck, and the key card of that is Burning Wish. So I'll be happy to talk about these more, but the first thing you need to know is that Flash Hulk is a deck from 2007, and Burning Long is a deck from 2003.
Okay.
So in between 2003 and 2007, a few cards were restricted, including Dark Ritual and Burning Wish.
Makes sense. Very powerful magic.
Right? So these decks never existed together on the same ban lists.
Yes.
So they never would have gotten a chance to play against each other.
Okay.
And these are just two of a lot of really powerful format-defining, format-warping decks like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, it would be really cool if we could take these powerful decks and play them against each other. And the last person who I've seen do this, or have heard of doing this, is Steve Menendian, pro player and podcast author of so many insane plays. Shout out to him.
Yeah, so we're doing some flashback of what deck versus what deck if they were legal at that time.
Right.
Let's see how powerful.
And like I said, the last person who did it, Steve Menendian, he did it in like 1998 when the only decks that were legal, the only decks he had to select from were very close together and very far apart in power level. The oldest one kind of lost badly to the mono blue control and everything else.
And then to modern Vintage, have any of these cards been like restricted or and like is Ponder restricted or is that Purity? I always forget. Vintage.
I have trouble keeping it straight myself. I'm pretty sure Ponder is restricted right now.
Okay. And
Brainstorm is also restricted, and then Preordain is the one that's not restricted.
Okay, Preordain not restricted.
Yeah, so you can see we've got 4 of Brainstorm, 2 of Ponder, 4 of Flash, and those are kind of, I think Merchant Scroll is also restricted.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the tutors have been restricted. That literally is 5 ancient recall or ancestral recalls at that point if you have so many Merchant Scrolls.
Yeah.
And then if anything, one of those Ponders nowadays would have been a Git Probe if they could. So.
Well, I don't know about Ponder being Git Probe. Ponder's
one of them. Well, in this current list, because we have 2 Ponders, if you were to change out one of those, a Git Probe would take the place of a Ponder.
You know, I might contest that, because Gitaxian Probe, great card, reduces your deck size, but Ponder, let's say, let's you look at the top 4 cards of your library.
It's card selection, yes. It's card selection. I'm just saying, if we were to start making this into modern Vintage, you would be taking out one of these Ponders and putting in Git Probe, and then the Brainstorms and the Preordains or whatever, stuff like that.
Sure. That's actually part of the reason that I thought it would be really cool to do a historical gauntlet, is because over the years we've had a lot of restrictions on Vintage. You know, the restricted list at one point was over 50 cards.
Wow.
And
did not know that.
50 or 40, I'm not sure which one. But here's a handy chart that I made. And we've got, so we do have Merchant Scroll on here.
Okay.
And...
Oh, wow. Workshops was on the...
at one point.
Wow.
If you can believe it. So...
They let it go.
And they let it go.
If that was a mistake or not.
So from June of 1994 to July of 1997. They said this card is too powerful, and then they changed their minds.
That makes sense, but it is a format-defining card.
It is.
Powerful Magic, which I'm happy that they have unbanned.
Me too.
Or unrestricted, technically.
Yeah, and I actually think it would be pretty neat if more of these cards were unrestricted, even though they're extremely powerful, because for some of these cards, they never even got a chance. And you could argue that they never should have gotten a chance. Like Mind's Desire is a card, and so was Memory Jar was a card that they were retroactively banned a month or less after they came out. So they never got a chance to see tournament play.
Yeah, Memory Jar, all I've heard is that it broke the format.
It broke a format. It didn't break this format. Okay. It broke Extended.
And someone got a job for breaking it because they're like, let's never have this happen again. You're hired. Whoever broke it, I'm pretty sure.
Randy Buehler was the one that broke it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
He wrote a letter to Wizards right after Urza Saga came out saying, this card's pretty broken. You should maybe do something about this. And they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything fast enough, so he took it to a tournament and crushed with it.
Yes. Mistakes were made. Early Magic, as we call it.
Early Magic, and so yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see some of these cards unrestricted today, and especially because in the same way that those cards were restricted really quickly, there are some cards on the restricted list that kind of just came out, and then less than a few months later, people were crying out for it to be banned because it was so powerful.
Well,
and they are definitely powerful cards, but man, I would love to see some of them unrestricted just because there's other powerful cards available, and we can let the meta adjust.
Well, there's always a meta adjustment, or you can always just see this is too broken and it's not fun to play against. And
yeah, and there's definitely a lot of smart people.
It's like shops. Like it's not broken that you can cheat in things, but it's broken like what the artifacts can do. So restricting it that did help shops all around them. Just restricting Chalice, Loathsome Golem, all that around. It made it a lot more balanced of a deck, and we do have Hurkyl's Recall and everything to counter it. So it's getting there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that shops, after many restrictions, is no longer considered the most powerful deck. It's now Paradoxical Outcome.
Yes, which is very surprising, but it's not Paradoxical Storm either. It's the Mentor list, right? Or Time Vault Mentor?
It's Time Vault Mentor, right.
Yeah.
And just which also, I think, has Tendrils either in the main or the sideboard.
Okay.
So it's kind of all three. It's they just had to keep on restricting spheres until there was no tax effects left.
Yeah. And we'll see if Paradoxical Outcome does get banned or restricted. I mean,
I think Paradoxical won't. Even because if you look at the meta right now, it appears to me that it doesn't have a dominating force in the meta. Like it's not over 30% as far as I can tell.
Yeah, meta counts. But if I remember, I think recently at the Vintage Super League, I think LSV swept the whole board just on Paradoxical Storm actually. So
nice. Rich Shea did it with Jeskai.
Oh wow!
If I recall correctly. So yeah, congrats to both those guys. They played some good Magic.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So let's get back to this. That was a fun detour, but. Let's talk about this. So I played a match the other day with another casual friend, and I played this Flash Hulk deck against his Burning Long deck, and I'm going to show that match in just a minute. But to just go into this deck a little bit, we were talking about how it works a minute ago, and I'm going to move these out of the way here so I can get the combo out here. So. The main combo, of course, is the Flash and Protean Hulk. Put Protean Hulk into play, don't pay for it, sacrifice it, and then search your library for any number of creature cards with total conversion that cost less, 6 or less, and put them into play.
Fun fact, you can draw as many 0-cost creatures as you want.
Yes, and that is a jank version of this deck.
Yes.
Which gets 4 Disciple of the Vaults and some number of artifact creatures that die instantly.
Some number.
But I like this version better. I think this version came out on top because it's a lot more compact. You don't need 16 dead cards in your deck.
Yeah, and the amount of tutors you have, Merchant Scrolls to find Flash, Pack or Summoner's Pack to get Protean Hulk, it seems like very good. And then you are winning this turn, so just having Pack Negations to counter everything just seems like a very powerful deck that looks like turn 1 potential.
Definitely. So the actual combo is you put Protean Hulk into play, sacrifice it, and then get Body Double and... Am I missing a card here?
Mob Fanatic.
Here, Carry On Feeder.
And
yeah, and there's the Mob Fanatic for later. So Body Double enters play as a copy of Protean Hulk, and then you sacrifice it to Carry On Feeder in order to get Revelark. And then Revelark, you sacrifice to Carry On Feeder in order to return Body Double, which in the graveyard has 0 power. And...
the Mob Fanatic.
Oh, I skipped a step. That's about how this combo goes.
Yeah.
When the Body Double goes to the graveyard, it's a Protean Hulk, so you get Mog Fanatic out of your deck and Revelark, and then you sacrifice the Revelark, and you can sacrifice Mog Fanatic, and then the loop is sacrifice Mog Fanatic, deal 1 damage to your opponent, sacrifice Revelark, get back Body Double. Sorry.
As Revelark.
Get back Body Double. Thank you. As Revelark and Mog Fanatic, sacrifice quote-unquote Revelark, Body Double,
yes,
getting back itself and Mog Fanatic.
Yes, as we'll see itself before
so
the sacrifice is a pay cost, so yes, and then the trigger goes on the stack. So
yep, exactly.
So it can target itself.
It's a really clever combo.
Yes.
And I'm impressed at whoever came up with it.
Yeah. It seems very consistent, actually. For some reason, just looking at the amount of tutors you have. For Flash and for Protean Hulk and everything.
Yeah, we've got, let's see, we've got the 2 tutors for Hulk, the Ancestrals and Ponders, Vamp, Brainstorm, Demonic Tutor, Mystical Tutor.
Yep.
There is...
Oh, I forgot Mystical Tutor's legal.
Yeah.
That's just a straight Flash on your next turn.
Yeah. And then Mystical into Brainstorm, of course. Good. So we've got... if we sort the deck like this, essentially, right, we can say this is kind of like, let me move that there. So we've got a whole lot of ways to find the combo, and then we've got a decent amount of protection. And if you take just these cards, I think, and get rid of all of these, you would have a pretty good control deck.
Yeah.
And it's no... Right, it's no 4-color leadable, but...
4 packs is still 4 packs. That's control magic if you're winning that turn. And I just thought about it. You can tutor out Summoner's Pack with Merchant Scroll. Or is it Merchant Scroll blue instances only?
Nope, any instant or sorcery.
Any instance. Oh, I'm talking about Merchant Scroll, not Mystical Tutor.
Yeah, Merchant Scroll is blue.
Okay, never mind. I thought we would... You could just tutor out all the pieces instantly. Never mind. It takes a workaround to get the Summoner's Pack.
Yeah. But... That's alright, because between Summoner's Pack and Hulk,
you have six of them, which is usually in your opening hand, with how math works and magic.
Sure. Yeah. Or it will get there quickly enough if you keep casting Ancestral Recalls and Brainstorms. Yeah.
Alright, so this is
this is the Flash deck.
Or Flash Hulk.
Yep. And then in the sideboard, we've got the Sliver version of the combo, which is, let me get these cards out of the way. Instead of, basically you take out these 5 cards, and then instead of doing Flash Hulk for Revelark, Body Double, etc., you just sacrifice Hulk and you put these 5 slivers into play. And it says all slivers have haste. This says all slivers have poisonous 1. These are the same thing. And these 4 poisonous 1s stack.
Yes,
so you attack.
They're all 4/4s, or they're all 1/1 slivers with 4 poisonous 4.
Right. They so you hit your opponent for 16 poison.
Yes. And
the main advantage of this is that it plays around graveyard hate.
Yes.
To some extent. With Rest in Peace really changed the format. But you can see there's this Chain of Vapor in the main deck for Leyline of the Voids and stuff. And so. This wins at sorcery speed, which is why it's in the board instead of the main.
Yep.
This wins at instant speed. You can technically win on your first turn with a number of pieces, right? You can Black Lotus, Ancestral Recall into Flash Hulk, or
just any land and any blue source land and a Mox and Flash can go.
Yep. So that's kind of Magical Christmas Land, but it's still, the possibility is there to win on turn 1.
Does Flash Hulk, or not Flash, but does Protean Hulk talk about hand, or is it only from or is it only from library?
Only from your library.
Okay.
And that's why Body Snatcher is in the deck.
Okay.
When Body Snatcher enters the battlefield, discard a creature card. So if you have one of your combo pieces in hand, first
Smart.
you fetch this.
I like that. That's.
And he's also extra, probably not usually used for this reason, but extra insurance for your combo, because you can tutor him up and then sacrifice him to get one of your combo pieces back from your graveyard.
Yes.
So he kind of does it all.
Yeah. That's actually good.
Yep. And then you can see we've got a little bit extra Thoughtseize for control decks, extra pay for the Mirror, Guy's Blessing. I have no idea why this is here.
You'll get there.
Draws a card, I guess. And then Reverent Silence, destroy all enchantments. Okay, I guess that's way to fight against Rest in Peace.
Okay.
And then Trigon Predator for the Shops matchup.
Yeah.
You can, I'll tell you what, you can sacrifice Protean Hulk, get 2 Trigon Predators, and then Shops has a real hard time.
Wow, okay, that's hilarious.
It's pretty great. So that's the Flash Hulk deck. Now to talk about the older, wiser deck, which is Burning Long. And so this is the much more mana heavy deck with 4 Dark Rituals, 4 Lion's Eye Diamond, 2 Soul Ring, Mana Vault. We're on our way to being a Paradoxical Outcome deck here.
Yes. Yes, we are. Is LED restricted now in Vintage?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It was unrestricted back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good to know.
They learned from their mistake.
Well, yeah. Let me cast Wish. Let me crack 3 LEDs in a row, and then we'll figure this out.
That's how it went down. That's one of the main ways this deck won, is getting a ton of mana off of a Burning Wish. I don't see a Yawgmoth's Will in this deck, funnily enough, but there is a Yawgmoth's Bargain.
Yep.
So cracking. There's any number of ways to just crack LED and then go off. And you can see this is very much an all-in combo deck. We've got this Demonic Consultation. At risk of exiling your win con, or win cons in this case.
But great tutor, nonetheless.
Tutor for anything. And then we don't have as much controlled. We just have the Duresses, and then the basic blue Ancestral Time Walk, and then Time Twister for recursion and card draw. And Necro, Fact or Fiction. This is a kind of an odd inclusion, but Future Sight.
Yeah, well, you have Replenish in the sideboard.
Yep.
There somewhere. If you're discarding your whole hand, you're like, I need to stop playing the top part of my library and go.
Yep. And then Hunting. Oh, and I did see my opponent go off with Future Sight. We may get the chance to see that here.
Okay.
And then Hunting Pack. So I'm pretty sure this is for playing against a control deck or a maybe a mirror. Control deck for sure, because you build up a whole ton of mana and they duress your Burning Wish or something.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stuck. But all you need is for them to play 1 counter spell, and then you Hunting Pack or Hunting Pack on their turn.
Yes. Fun fact: Hunting Pack is an instance. It is great to block sometimes.
I'm sure that was the intended.
Yes.
Just like Wing Shards, punish your opponent for casting spells before combat.
Yes.
Anyway, that was the intended use, but yeah. So it's kind of it's kind of the tech for its time. It's not. If you played this deck now, you would probably not want Hunting Pack.
Yeah, you would have what is it, Tendrils or something.
Yeah, I think. Well, is Tendrils around?
Well, Tendrils was legal. I'm guessing they just weren't playing it for some reason.
Well, I'll tell you. Actually,
they are just be at instant speed.
It's right here. So here's the thing about this deck. Have you heard of Wish boards before?
Yes.
Yeah. So this deck has a Wish board. When you cast Burning Wish, you can get any number of these 1-drops. Oh, here's the Yawgmoth's Will.
Okay. Yep.
Vindicate, Tendrils, Mind Twist, Recoup. And a common play with this deck is to cast Burning Wish for one of these value cards like Recoup or Yawgmoth's Will, continue comboing off to build up Storm, and then get another Burning Wish and cast it for your kill condition with Tendrils.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really set this deck apart is, of course, the fact that you've got 4 Burning Wishes in your main deck and 0 win cons. Well, aside from these 2 cards. Let's just ignore those for now. You could have it without any win cons. And so it's like the ideal control or combo deck where you're not wasting any slots in your deck.
Quick question: are there Force Wolves?
Not in this deck.
Okay, so it is a very fragile but not fragile deck.
It's fragile in the sense that it doesn't have counter magic. It's less fragile in the fact that it is extremely fast.
Yep. And Duresses are there to stop Force Wolves, but I'm guessing Force Wolf didn't exist at this time.
It did. It came out in actually let me double check that. Yes, it came out in Alliances, which is before it was a Saga. And
okay.
Let me just double check when Burning Wish came out. It was not. It's in Judgment.
Judgment.
So well after Alliances and Urza's block.
Okay.
Yep. And a neat combo that you can do is, which you cannot do anymore because of a rules change, is you could Burning Wish for something and then
get it back from exile was the older text. As you're, for some reason, you could wish for exiled cards as well.
You could wish for exiled cards. So, for example, Burning Wish for Yawgmoth's Will, Burning Wish again, and then Burning Wish for your own Burning Wish, just to build up Storm.
Powerful magic.
Yeah. And that is... does that about cover it? I think we've got all the info we need.
Well,
the
what
sideboard.
is the win con technically?
Technically, the win con is Tendrils of Agony.
Okay, so you wish for Tendrils and go off Tendrils. Okay.
Eventually, you're going to wish for Tendrils, right. And then we've got Xantid Swarms. This is the other protection for the control matchup. Vindicate for whatever you can't handle. And I'm not from. I don't know why Decree of Annihilation is in here. But I'm sure it was for a good reason.
Decree doesn't exile enchantments, I believe. So maybe it is for
if you build up 10 mana and you have
Future Sight out,
then you can decree everything else.
Yes, maybe. You do have a lot of 0-drops, so you could get there maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was for a land still matchup of some sort.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can play lands and stand still, and I'll just cycle Decree of Annihilation, which isn't casting a spell for standstill.
Yes, it is a triggered ability.
And destroy all lands. Okay, so yeah, let me pull up the video.
Alright.
And
so